And good evening, good evening, good evening, and welcome, welcome, welcome to Counsel of the Day with Shanrae. And I am Shanrae. Well, this is our final night. This is our last and final night for this quarter, which is May 2021, Counsel of the Day. And again, this month we have been talking about loyalty and in different subtopics, loyalty. And so tonight, again, is our last and final night for this quarter. And then I will resume, I will start all over again in August for the entire month of August. And so, without further ado, because this is a 30-minute segment, so good to see you all that are on tonight. So good to see you all. Let me go to the comments because I have three different. Hi, CJ, how are you? So good to see you all tonight. This is an open forum, so if you all want to ask questions or if you want to share some scenarios or anything like that, I will always pause and I will give attention to whatever you want to talk about or highlight on what I'm teaching. So tonight, I am going to be teaching about very briefly or talking about and again, I'm a degree counselor, a Christian degree counselor. So I'm going to be highlighting loyalty to yourself. I've talked about loyalty to family, to friends, to your marriage, to your religion, to politics. I've talked about it all. But tonight, we're going to end this on being loyal to yourself. Okay, so let me share this screen. Let me share this screen and we're going to go on and get started. All right. Again, I am a Christian counselor. And I did acquire my degrees from Ashford University. I want to show this very quickly. I acquired my degrees from Ashford University. Good evening, Superwoman. How are you? So good to see you. I acquired my degrees from Ashford University. I am a Christian counselor, but let's go on and get started with our website disclaimer that I am using. Please be aware that due to the nature of the technology that I am using, there can be no assurance of confidentiality when using this online service. It should also be noted that due to changes in policies, all replies are to be used as advisory and informational only and will not constitute an official determination. Information provided by myself, other counselors, religious leaders, or people with life experience are subject to the limitations of current and available material, but the final responsibility for successfully achieving a goal rests with you, the individual. Information online is designed to be helpful. However, this information does change frequently, and it is recommended that clients or individuals as yourself will consult another physician, another specialist, and or religious leader to aid in your overall behavioral wellness. All right. So that's my website disclaimer for my teaching. Okay, so the scriptures are the actual Bible scripture that I've been talking about are just focused on for the month is from Proverbs chapter 3, verses 21, the NIV version. So it says, "My son, do not let wisdom and understanding out of your sight. Preserve sound judgment and discretion." I also wanted to highlight the NLT version. Good evening, Melissa. It's so good to see you. The NLT version says, "My child, don't lose sight of common sense and discernment. Hang on to them." And then I added an additional scripture for this week, which really stood out to me. And I thought that this would just end the week on a perfect note. It's Galatians chapter 5, verse 25, the Amplified version. And it says that if we claim to live by the Holy Spirit, we must also walk by the Spirit with personal integrity, godly character, and moral courage. Our conduct empowered by the Holy Spirit. So those are the scriptures that Proverbs is the one that we just highlighted for the month. So let's dive on in, and I'm going to illuminate this a little bit so you all can see this a little bit better. Loyalty, and I'm a behavioral specialist, so I like to speak about whatever definitions or whatever topic I'm talking on. I like to talk about it from a behavioral standpoint. Loyalty, the definition of loyalty that I chose, it says a strong feeling of support or allegiance. And then tonight, yourself, the definition of yourself, it says you personally used to emphasize the person being addressed. You personally are used to emphasize the person that's being addressed. So these are the two definitions that I wanted to, two words that I wanted to define on tonight for tonight's topic. So we're going to be talking about a few different key points on tonight. Number one is going to be loyalty to yourself. Number two is going to be talking about, we're going to answer two questions that are pertaining to being loyal to yourself. The third thing we're going to be talking about is 6 ways to be loyal to yourself and why it's so important. The fourth thing is our takeaway. We're going to end with a quote. And then, of course, I will always give the website references that I used for my studies for this month or for this evening itself. So let's go on and get started. The first question says, what does it mean to be loyal to oneself? And here, as you can see, it says being loyal to yourself means that you not only know what makes you happy, but you actually make sure that you get enough of it to feel happy, and enough of whatever you like to make you feel happy. And we're talking about everything in a positive sense now. So it kind of misses the point if we do something to take care of ourselves, but then beat ourselves up for being lazy or selfish or even just indifferent. Now, I want to pause here because there are certain times in our lives where we are supposed to be a little bit more self-absorbed, or what people may say selfish or anything like that, which is not really. Now, the time where you're supposed to be a little more self-absorbed is when you are actually growing up as an adolescent, because you're trying to figure out who you are. You're under your parents' umbrella. They're teaching you a lot of times. Most parents teach you right, wrong, how to be ethically moral, and those type of things, and they're showing you how to apply it to your daily life. So thank you, Melissa. So that's one time where you should really focus on yourself as you're an adolescent growing up. Then again, you move into your early adult years, 18 to 25, 23, 24, 25. That's the time for you to still be more self-absorbed. Okay, it's nothing wrong with that, because you're now transitioning into young adulthood. And now you're coming out from up under your parents' umbrella, from being solely a dependent to like gradually moving out of being a sole dependent with your parents. So that's the time where you also concentrate on yourself, because you're first of all, a lot of people, higher education, a lot of people are going to college, some people are going to trade school, some people are going into the armed services, and some people are just moving into the workforce. Whatever works for you at the time, you're still trying to learn how to function and how to move from being a total dependent under your parent or your parents and moving into some independence. Okay, and then as you move into your career or whatever like that, that you still need to focus on what's going on. So, because as you're setting goals for yourself and moving into your career, you need time to do that without being distracted. Now, the time that you start your family, you get married and you start your family, you can't be so self-absorbed then. Now, I'm not saying don't neglect yourself, but now you have little ones. You have dependents of your own that require a lot of attention. And a lot of times we're so tired and exhausted because we're working, and then we have to maintain our home, and then we have to maintain the bills. And we're trying to move as one unit with your spouse. And then we're trying to make sure that we care for the babies. And that there's never a rule book to what's going to happen when you have a child. You have some examples, but each case is different. Each case. So that's the time where you kind of move away from being self-absorbed and a little more self-centered. Then when the children get grown, that's the stage that I'm at now. I have my grown folk, fully grown. And so it's time, that this happens. Then you can have more time to refocus back on you, maybe recreate some things, reinvent some things for yourself. That's the time that becomes self-absorbed again and saying, I need to put a little bit more emphasis. A lot of times when we have emphasis on our babies and our children and our adolescents and our teenagers, we can't really focus or do what we want for ourselves. Now, when they're grown and everything, then we can start traveling again. You can start hanging out again with your friends responsibly. You can start doing some things and focusing, re-educating yourself, reinvent your career, redoing to learn a different language, something. That's the time to do it again. And then then we move into the stage where some of us have to start being caregivers for our parents if the parents did not put certain things in place for themselves for when this time comes, which is also the time for us to start putting things in place for ourselves. So because we are now between the 50s and the 60s in retirement, and so we need to start implementing some things for us when we get into the retirement. And so, and as life happens, that we're prepared for life. So I just wanted to pause and say that and go from there. Let's move on to the second question. The second question says, why is loyalty important to you? And I'm pausing. I'm looking to see if y'all have any questions or scenarios that y'all want to share. Number 2, why is loyalty important to you? And it says, on a more positive note, on a more positive personal level, loyalty stands for commitment and dedication to another, allowing respect and trust to flourish. Loyalty is important in both business and our personal lives. I'm going to turn this around. Loyalty is important in our personal lives than our business lives. Loyalty is valuable because it allows us to take the risk of predicting the actions and the behaviors of people that we do trust. So these are the two questions that we wanted to pose and then answer, which are really, really good questions. Sometimes we have to sit down and we have to reevaluate ourselves and kind of reshape things for ourselves and rethink things and ask ourselves some questions and then do some hard answering. And so we can kind of reiterate our lives and refocus on things. Tina Hobson, Superwoman, says, can a person be too loyal to others and not self? Oh, yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And we're actually going to dive into this right now about being too loyal to others and actually neglecting your own loyalty. So thank you. That is a great question, Superwoman. Miss Tina Hobson. Okay, so this is 6 ways to be loyal to yourself and why it's so important. Now, this article was written by the counselor or theorist Martha Sullivan. And I really enjoyed this. Out of all of the research, I really liked the different things that she talked about. So I want to go on and highlight it again. 6, and she talked about 6 different ways to be loyal to yourself and why it is important. Again, the theorist that I'm highlighting right now is Miss Martha Sullivan or Dr. Martha Sullivan. So the first question, let me read this a little bit. Okay, so it says, she says that when she was 14 years old, her grandmother told her something that has been ringing in her ears ever since. And her grandmother said to her that whatever you do in life, always remember to be loyal to yourself. And when I say her grandmother, that is something great. What her grandmother told her, to always be loyal to yourself. She said back then she did not understand the real meaning of these wise and evergreen words because she was too young. 14 is so young. You haven't lived long enough to understand why she said this. And she was too young and innocent to understand how the world that she was living and operating in at the time. But she said, now, this is Dr. Sullivan. Dr. Sullivan says, but now she can say for sure that self-loyalty is one of the most fundamental rules that everyone should live by. So here I have here, and this is one of the questions. Question number 1, what she broke down is, what does being loyal to yourself really mean? And so this is her definition, Dr. Sullivan's definition, which I really like what she did. She said, so being loyal to yourself, basically means to be who you are, to listen to your intuition, and to be in touch with your true self. It means being an active participant in your own life instead of seeking approval from others or doing things just because someone else has told you to do it. It means being loyal, not only taking care of other people and meeting their needs, but meeting your own needs as well. And I'm going to say meeting your own needs first, because if you don't take care of yourself, you can't help anybody else. All right. Sadly, she said that hectic lifestyles, And the modern world that we live in often force us to that, forget that, to take care of ourselves first, and to think that being loyal to yourself is an act of selfishness. And yes, unfortunately, people do try to say when you choose, um, for instance, let's give an I was in the grocery store earlier, because I'm back on my total body healing fitness journey. Y'all know I wear different hats and I do different things. And so I'm back on my fitness journey, and I was in the health aisle purchasing some products that I can eat, more healthier products. And there was a very young lady, millennial. She was in there, and I'm gonna open this up just a little bit. Let me get a pen so I can mark where I was, because y'all know I will get distracted. So let me. Okay, there we go. Let me open this up just a little bit so you all can see me a little bit better. But I was in the aisle, and the young lady was with her friend, her guy friend, and they were having an open conversation. They were talking, very loudly, so I couldn't help but be in the conversation because I was next to them in the same aisle. So she was talking about she wanted to purchase a few of those health items for her cousin, because her cousin was about to get the gastric bypass surgery, and she just wanted to help encourage her with getting some things. So she started putting things in her buggy, and so her guy friend, I assume they were a couple that she was with. Her guy friend said, "Now, who are you buying this stuff for here?" And she said, for my cousin, and she mentioned the cousin's name, and he said, "Listen." He said, "Listen." He said, we can't go broke trying to help somebody else. Yeah, you already said that you wanted to buy this over here for her." He said, "But now we're exceeding our budget. So you got that for her, but you can't get everything for her." And when he said that, she was like, "But that's my cousin." And my back was facing him, but when he said that, I was nodding my head like, that's we want. It's nothing wrong with helping people. It's nothing wrong with encouraging people, but you can't overextend yourself when it comes to helping someone else. There has to be a line of demarcation. There has to be. You can't put yourself in harm's way, or in error, or in financial strain, or in some type of financial deficiency if you are trying to help somebody else. People still have to do their own part, and this is what Dr. Sullivan was actually talking about here, as she was saying that sadly hectic lifestyles and the modern world that we live in often force us to forget that, and to think that being loyal to ourselves and to our own cause, as an act of selfishness. But Dr. Sullivan said that today she's going to prove the world otherwise, or prove them wrong. So, all right. So number one, and I'm going to move this on. The first thing that she's saying is, Dr. Sullivan says here, to remind yourself of what you want, and then go get it. I'm going to say that again. Dr. Sullivan is stressing this is number one. She said to remind yourself of what you want, and then go get it. And she's saying, remember all those New Year's resolutions that were made with excitement. And she said, perhaps, the people have promised themselves that they'll start going to the gym, or they'll find a new job, or they'll stop smoking, or they'll start practicing a holistic lifestyle, work on improving their relationships and similar things. And she said, then they don't necessarily need to be these things don't necessarily need to be your New Year's resolution, but something that you've always wanted to do, yet for some reason have not done it. So she said, perhaps stress accumulation is taking its toll, or you just keep making excuses so that you feel less guilty about not doing anything regarding your resolutions or what you want to do for you. What she said, but what Dr. Sullivan says, but whatever the reason be, if you want to be loyal to yourself, you need to remind yourself of what you want and start working on making it a reality as soon as possible. So if your wish is to go on a trip with significant other, start planning it right now. And if your wish is to be more physically active, then go for a run right now. Or I would say start where you are, and maybe just go for a walk. Go for a short walk. She said that if you're she said go for a walk right now, and then she said but whatever you do, don't wait till next week. Don't keep saying I'll do it next week or next month or whatever like that. She said if you want a gym membership, go get it like that. But the most important thing Dr. Sullivan is saying is to motivate yourself and remind yourself of all of your decisions and all of the goals that you put on hold. Remember, you can do anything that you set your mind to do only if you want to do it. So you have to want to do it bad enough to do it and then to stick with it. I'm going to magnify this a little bit so you can see me when I say this. Because there are a lot of people who are just they get motivated temporarily, short term. A short-term motivation. So they'll start good, they'll start with fiery, and then they just drop off. But you have to want this bad enough to stick with it, to see the end of the results, to see the goal. And that's the man. And it's just a restructuring of your brain. That's all. A lot of times, it's not easy. It's never easy to restructure your brain and sticking with things. And yes, things do happen to kind of throw you off. But when these things happen to throw you off, don't stay thrown off. Don't stay throw off. Pick up, start all over again and say, like what I'm doing now. I gained a certain amount of weight, after the passing of my mom. And that's been a little over 6 months now. But at some point, and I had to keep talking to myself, Cherie, I know you got to give yourself a little time and a little grace, but you got to get back on your routine. And then one day I put one of my outfits on, and I was uncomfortable in that outfit. And I said, I'm going to take it one step at a time, but I have to get back on my journey. And I did. And I did. And it's been a little over 2 weeks. And praise God, I've lost 7 pounds in 2 weeks. And I'm going to keep going. I have to lose the weight that I gained, but I've got to start back over. So things happen. Things happen. You may distract you a little bit, but then you start all over again, because the bottom line is it's imperative that we reach the goals that we set for ourselves, or the things that we want to see and do, that we actually accomplish them. Let's move on to number 2. Number 2 says, what else with my paper? Okay, I didn't realize. Number 2 says, stand for what you believe in. Stand for what you believe in. So I'm going to let you know what I agree with and what I don't agree with here. This is all researched, and this is all written by Dr. Sullivan, Martha Sullivan. It says that we're surrounded by millions of other people, which is true. Our family, friends, colleagues, media, modern influencers, and other virtual crews. They all shape our opinion. Yes, we are influenced by the things we're around and the people we're around, especially the media, and hold different perspectives. And there is nothing wrong with that, because if we all had one mindset, we wouldn't be able to learn new things from other people. So being a good listener is a good thing, because it teaches us new ideas, whether they are positive or negative. But neglecting your own beliefs because of others is something you should never do. Neglecting your own beliefs because of others is something that you should never do. Respect other people's ideas and opinions, but always make sure to stand for what you believe in. And this is what Dr. Sullivan is saying. She said you should implement this rule in every area of your life, be it your relationships, work ethics, or your religion. From the moment that you get up till the end of the day, you have to make plenty of decisions throughout the day, which is true. And what matters is that you know that you did the right thing. And that does matter. It really does. That is why it's important to stand for what you believe in and trust your gut. So when things go south, it is easier to blame yourself for something you did wrong than for listening to others. Learning from your own mistakes means evolving. So you should never be afraid of standing up for yourself and what you believe in. Now, learning from your own mistakes is evolving. That is key to growth. learning from your own mistakes. Key, and a lot of people are repeat I don't want to say offenders, but repeat learners, repetitive learners in the same area. We are always to learn, but you shouldn't always be learning the same lesson over and over and over again. I remember that I was out of town. Actually, I was singing. Y'all know I wear different hats. And I was out of town singing, and I'm going to magnify this here a little bit. So I was out of town singing. A lot of us, I was actually on a tour, and we were traveling together. And we went into a very small, we was at a place and traveled. We went to a big city and traveled into a smaller city. And a couple of us were trailing each other. We drove in together. We were driving out together. And I was riding, and you talk about not following your gut, not following your gut. And so it was starting to get dark when it was time for us to leave from the small place, going into a bigger place. And just started following a person who actually lived in the bigger area of that city, but they were not from that smaller area, kind of like Georgia. Georgia is so big, and then we have a lot of rural areas. So I live here in Atlanta, but I don't know every rural area. I don't know that. So I followed the person, and after a while, but I started getting a really weird feeling. And I was like, this doesn't look right. It doesn't, because I was taught, especially growing up in the city, you have to look at landmarks. You got to look at landmarks and to know where you are. Look at landmarks. Always look at landmarks. If you don't see a street sign, find landmarks that'll let you know you're going the straight way, because your GPS could go out. My GPS wasn't working right, and I had my paper written down, but I think it was in the back of the trunk somewhere in my trunk. And so trying to follow somebody out, and about an hour in, I realized this was not the way that I came. It was not on the highway. It was going through a back roads. It was dark and in the country. And I was upset because I know better. I know better. I know how to follow my own gut. And it was by that time it was too late to turn around. The highway I was so deep in. The highway was so far off. I just had to keep going straight and to get to the next highway. And this was as an adult. So when I say that what Dr. Sullivan said is so true, follow your gut, follow your intuition no matter what. Always follow your gut, follow your intuition, because a lot of times it will never lead you wrong, And that was just it could have been a major situation. Y'all, we watch the news every day. It could have been something major, but thank God it was not. It was, and that was a learning curve. That was a learning curve right there. All right, so let's move on to number 3 out of what Dr. Sullivan, this is 3 out of 6. All right, number 3 says, take time to reconnect with yourself. I'm going to say that again. Take time to reconnect with yourself. Chores, jobs, and other daily tasks often get us into a rut, and we start feeling as if we're stuck in a real life Groundhog Day movie with Bill Murray. That movie, I love that movie. It comes on every year during Groundhog Day. Every new day becomes a reiteration of the one before. Oh, that's not good. Because of this, we start losing touch with ourselves, and our self-esteem begins to suffer. We begin to neglect our needs for the sake of accomplishing our task on a daily basis. And that's not good. Being loyal to yourself means taking time to reconnect with yourself, with your likes, with your dislikes, and things that you're good at, and your dreams and your desires. Making yourself a priority and going back to your roots is not something that you should be ashamed of doing. So when you're connected with yourself, your confidence begins to increase. And trust me, this is what Dr. Sullivan says. She said, there's no better mood lifter than knowing that you're respecting and loving yourself in spite of all of this negativity that's prevailing in the world. And this is so true. It's important, number 3, to take time to reconnect with yourself. All right, let's move on to number 4. Number 4 says to be honest with yourself. And a lot of people are not. They're just not. Good evening, Faith. How are you? Good evening. It's you have to be honest with yourself, because if you are not honest with yourself, you will never be honest with anything else in your life. Everything will be a facade. It will be like a veil over it, like a cloud or something like that. When your eyes are cloudy, that's how things will become in your life when you're not honest with yourself. So number 4 says to be honest with yourself. Lying, infidelity, violence, and other modern life vices are significantly depriving us from reaching our full potential. Being loyal to yourself also means being honest with yourself about everything, including the negative things. Acknowledge your imperfections, your quirks, your flaws, and bad habits. Don't try to hide your imperfections on social media. Don't try to convince yourself that your bad habit is not something that you should be working on. So don't tell yourself that your bad habits is something that you shouldn't be working on. And we should always work on our negative, the flaws that's in us. Self-improvement, patience, and kindness are character traits that you should focus on. Okay, Superwoman Tina Hobson said, "Is it easy to forgive self?" No, it's never easy to forgive yourself, but it's imperative that we do forgive ourselves at some point. We may not like the things that we've done in the past or presently, or the things that we put ourselves in, but we have to forgive ourselves in order to move on. Move on, forget. But again, it goes right back to what we just read. But you still got to learn your lessons and don't repeat this stuff. It's harder to forgive yourself. It's really hard to forgive yourself when you keep falling in the same hole. You know the hole is there. You don't walk around it. You don't walk across the street. You don't evade it. But you keep walking down that same thing and keep doing the same stuff over and over. And I don't care if it's something different, but always the same decision concerning something that's maybe life changing or something. Self-sabotage, those type of things. If you continue to repeat these bad habits, these flaws, if you continue to make these flaws and these different things a lifestyle, you almost can never forgive yourself for repeating the same patterns. And it is imperative. I am a degree counselor. Y'all, I've received my degrees from Ashford University. I'm offering my services, but if it's not me, please, by all means, if you find yourself continue to fall in the same hole, continue to making the same poor choices over and over again, it's imperative to go and sit down and get some counseling. Seek out a life coach. Yeah, you have to figure out what your triggers. Why you keep making the same poor choices, so you can become a better version of yourself. So it's, again, when you see progress in you, then it's easier to forgive you. But when you continue to fall in the same hole, of course it's hard to forgive yourself, because personally you're not overcoming. You're not overcoming the same thing that's keep holding you back. You're not progressing. And life is about self-progression. So that was a great question, Superwoman. I love that. Okay. So Dr. Sullivan was saying, acknowledge your imperfections, quirks, flaws, and bad habits. Don't try to hide your imperfections on social media. We said that. Self-improvement, patience, and kindness are character traits that we have to focus on. But we should also keep in mind that we don't need to be, nobody's perfect, but we are purer. And as we get older, we should know better and we should do better. When you 20, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, okay, you still trying to figure some things out. 35, you should know more than you knew when you was 25 and when you was 15. But when you get in your 40s, 50s, 60s, okay, then they're, we've lived long enough to know better in order to do better, in order to live better. And so when we get to these stages, 50, you get 50, 60, like that, and you're still in that same rut and you're still in the same place and no growth, I'm encouraging you. Seek out counsel. Go to a safe place. You have to find some strategies that will work for you to help you become a better you. Seek out life coach to help you recognize these triggers, these things that are stopping you, what these self-sabotages, and start, turning it around and implementing, especially during times of where you continue to do the same negative stuff, where you can overcome that and start seeing growth in your own self. All right. Embrace your imperfections that cannot be changed. And what this means by embracing them is realizing that you do have imperfections. I'm one that believes that, yeah, you can change everything about you, not unless, and let me open this up. And please do not take this the wrong way. Not unless you were born with specific type of dysfunctions. And if there is there, because there are some dysfunctions, which we know certain spectrums, certain depending on the spectrum level, where they may not function max on a maximum level like others, but there are ways that they can grow and function and learn how to function. But if that is not you, and if you're not you wasn't born or diagnosed with certain type of severe spectrums, then there's always room for growth. Okay. So, but Dr. Sullivan said to work on the things that can be improved. I am a Christian counselor, so I do know that anything that you're working on, any and everything can be improved. Anything and everything can be improved. Yeah, it really can. I just firmly stand on that. I believe in miracles, and I believe in changes for the better. So I do know that if whatever it is, you continue to practice it and work on it, just like people practice negative stuff and they got it down pat. You practice being a liar and you got that down pat. Now people gonna always know you for being a liar. But if that's something that becomes natural to you, because that's you got to practice that stuff. Lying instead of telling yourself the truth. Well, anything negative that you have become habitual, you can turn that around. I have someone that I worked with for years ago, and I liked how they would have to retrain their brain. They used to say when they were talking, and they would stop themselves and say, "No, I'm lying. No, I'm lying. I'm lying. Let me go back." This is what happened. And that is what they had to do in order to retrain their brain in order to become a better version of themselves. And I love that. I mean, because when I say that they have truly become a better version of themselves, because they started implementing that and retraining their brain. No, I'm like, they will stop themselves in mid-sentence and say, "No, I'm lying. I'm lying. Let me go back. This is what happened." So when I say I strongly believe that everybody, you can anything that's flawed can be fixed. I believe that. All right. Dr. Sullivan says, don't make excuses for your bad behavior or try to run away from your problems. Don't do that. If you want to be honest with yourself, then you have to see things as they are. Yes, you do. At that moment, face them and start working on improving them. It's the only way to ultimate happiness. Dr. Sullivan was saying, once you face them, start working on improving them. This is the only way that a person can really achieve ultimate happiness. Number 5, because I'm on a little bit longer tonight, but it's okay. This is our last night. It's all right. Number 5 says to embrace your own feelings. So instead of prioritizing only other people's feelings, here we go. Here we go to Miss Superwoman Tina Hobson. Instead of prioritizing only other people's feelings, honor your own as well. Pay attention to how you're feeling when someone disappoints you or something bad happens. Don't try to suppress your emotions when you're feeling down just because you're afraid of being judged by other people. Remember that you're only human and you're not expected to be happy 24/7. You have the right to have a bad day, to feel betrayed, disappointed, and broken. Embrace all of these feelings, not only the positive ones, because if you don't, then you're not being loyal to yourself. So it's okay to embrace when you feel when someone lets you down, when you feel betrayed, when you feel used, when you feel mistreated. It's okay to embrace it. It's okay to voice that, and then move it along. And then it's okay to safeguard yourself, because we don't have to set ourselves around people that do this to you constantly. That's their issue. If they have a problem with keeping their promises, if they have a problem with being loyal, and if they have a problem, then guess what? Then they don't have to be, that you don't have to, because it's a grace. That's a grace. Let me open this up a little bit. That's a grace. First of all, when someone, I taught my grown folk growing up. It's a blessing when people want to be around you, when people love you. That's a blessing when you're loved by people. But when we don't have to keep ourselves around toxic people. We don't have to continue to allow ourselves to be betrayed and let down and disappointed. I don't care who it is. That is their issue. If they have a problem with being trustworthy, honest, and loyal, we don't have to subject ourselves to that. That is their issue. My main thing is being loyal to ourselves. We have a right to have our own dreams and desires and goals. And if they don't like it, if they don't appreciate it, and if the people around you, if they're even jealous of what you're doing, and they're trying to whatever, or they're whatever, and they letting you down, what is it? First time, what is it? First time, shame on them. Second time, shame on you. Right? Okay, so like Maya Angelou said, when a person shows you who they are, believe them. We cannot allow ourselves and our dreams to be deleted and diminished because somebody else have refused to work on their flaws and their quirks and all of those things. So no, and then I'm going to mention this about Christianity. I tell people all the time, read over and over again the walk of Jesus Christ. If we're Christian, then that's our model. So Jesus Christ didn't allow people to. Now, I'm not talking about when he was crucified. That was ordained. He had to do that for us. Okay. But other than that, he didn't set himself around except for Judas, and that was with a purpose. Judas was there for a purpose. But other than that, Jesus didn't play around with people. He didn't play around with snakes. He didn't play around with people he didn't do that. He got them where they was. He didn't care who they, and he let them know, I don't, right is right and wrong is wrong. And he kept it moving. Same thing with us. Our life, we have to do what we have to do in our lifetime span, fulfill our destiny and our purpose. And if we see that people that are trying to attach themselves to us, and if they're not a good fit for you, if they're not a good fit for you, it's okay to detach yourself. Be loyal to yourself. It's okay to detach yourself, because it'll be your fault if you let somebody else keep you down and hold you down. So again, that's being loyal to you. All right. All right. So when you're focused, let me say, when you're focused on your own feelings, you understand yourself better, and your relationships with others improve as well. Remember that you don't need to be perfect in order to experience unconditional love. None of us are. You don't need to change yourself completely and suppress your thoughts and emotions in order to be seen and praised by other people. You are you, and there is there's not another person. There's not another you in the whole wide world. So embrace your uniqueness, embrace your feelings, and embrace your opinions. I like that. Embrace your own feelings. All right, number six, I'm sorry, I'm working with multiple devices, guys. So if you see me looking up, looking down, that's what's going on. Number 6 says, learn from your mistakes and then forgive yourself. Great question, Tina Hobson, Superwoman, once again. Learn from your mistakes and forgive yourself. Have you ever blamed yourself for something that happened in the past? I bet you did, like the rest of us civilization. You blamed yourself for the choices that you made, things you did or said, and similar. But guess what? You cannot change what happened. You can't change that. And if something cannot be changed, there's no point in beating yourself up about it. Now, what Dr. Sullivan means here is the situation. She's not talking about you repeating the same errors. That's two totally different things. We can't change the things that happened in the past. But what we can change is what caused those. If it's something negative, we can change that. Whatever negative or flaw that we did for something like that to happen, we better change that if we want to grow, if we want to reach our goals, So all Dr. Sullivan is saying here is that you can't change what you experienced in the past, but we can definitely change what we did in order to make that experience, that poor choice. We can change making poor choices. Let's just put it that way. We can change making poor choices. All right. So she said there's no point and beating yourself up. Instead of dwelling in the past and blaming yourself for certain outcomes, focus on learning from that. And I don't believe in mistakes. Mistakes is not knowing at all. When you're grown and fully grown, and I'm not talking about nothing out of the ordinary, something just total, but most of the time people repeat the same failures. So this is what Dr. Sullivan is saying. She said, learn from it. Forgive yourself, but learn from it and don't repeat that. Learn and don't make those same poor choices again. She said you will never be able to be totally free if you don't forgive yourself. The truth is, we are going to make thousands of mistakes during our lifetime. But what matters is that when we learn something from them, she said, what matters is learning something from them so that we don't repeat them again. Learn so we don't repeat it again. And if you're able to do this, then there's nothing you should worry about. Being loyal to yourself isn't about living a perfect life that's devoid of mistakes, but about forgiving yourself and turning them into valuable life lessons. And then growing from it. I'm going to add growing from it. So my takeaway for tonight, I really enjoyed doing this research on Dr. Sullivan. I really, out of everything that I researched, I love her 6 key points that she gave. The takeaway here says that there's something essential that we must prioritize: loyalty to yourself. Only those who can connect with themselves by practicing honesty and authenticity will give the best of themselves to other people. Now, these are from 2 different teachings here, this takeaway. All right. So this teaching here is saying basically the same thing that Dr. Sullivan said. So think of all of the times that you have not been honest with yourself or have been carried away by others' opinions or decisions, even going against your own values. This researcher here says, and this is from the bigmatrimonial.com. This researcher says that you're not the only one. That there are many examples in which we are unfair, such as the couples who are unfaithful to each other but are still together without telling the truth to each other, the professional who performs a certain deceptive practice due to the obligation of their superiors, or the children who they start their studies and careers that they don't want to do because they just to meet the expectations of their parents. None of these examples is loyalty to yourself or practicing loyalty to yourself. Respect for one's own values is not exercised with what I just read about. So, who is not upright with their heart, with their heart's voice, and is carried away by others people's loyalties. The only thing that they feel and favor is pain, is what this writer is saying. So the writer says that, as we can see, loyalty requires a great deal of courage. I'm going to say that again. Loyalty requires a great deal of courage. You must have the courage to act according to your values and communicate what we agree or disagree with. Not everyone can say what they think or feel, which implies not being loyal to yourself or to whoever they're hiding it. So hiding the truth is always as bad as lying. This is what this writer says. Hiding the truth is always as bad as lying, because in both you in both you are being dishonest and with it disloyal. So with both of these, you're being dishonest and disloyal. You're being dishonest to yourself, you're being disloyal to yourself. So when love is sincere and when love is authentic and love is respectful, there's no space for disloyalty or for infidelity. And this is what this writer was talking about. Because before doing so, they would talk, they would talk and try to resolve or leave the relationship to avoid prolonged pain. And I don't know, this is what this writer threw in there about they threw in being in a relationship as well, as far as being loyal to yourself. So I like what this, I really like what this writer said here about being loyal. Before you put yourself in a situation of prolonging pain and hurting people, hurting yourself and hurting others, first of all, you need to practice self-loyalty, and you have to practice self telling the truth to yourself, self-honesty. Be honest with yourself so you can be honest with everybody else. Oh my gosh, we've been on for about an hour. All right. So I'm going to leave you with this final quote, which is good. It's okay. This is good tonight. The final quote is, it says, loyalty to yourself first, loyalty to others last. You can't give what you don't have. And this is by, I think it's Win Chama. I believe that's how they pronounce this person's name, Win Chama. Okay. And so I like that this last and final quote for this month. It says, loyalty to yourself first, loyalty to others last. You can't give what you don't have. And loyalty tells you a lot about yourself and everyone else. So I'm so happy to have been able to come back on and to share with you all. I've said it all month long. This is my give back to whoever's watching, to the community. I am a degree Christian counselor. And so this is my give back. And I love to, I do it quarterly, and research, take time out, my time that I'm off, I research specific topics and just delve in. And it's like I said, each segment is normally 30 minutes. We went over tonight, but it's okay. This is our final night. This is some good meat here, and I'm going to move this along. If for my fellow counselors or theorists, this is my theory website references. You can go back and see where I found all my teachings from. And I want to thank you all for participating in Counsel Today with Shanrae May 2021. This has been a wonderful, wonderful month. Jumping back into it, I will be back in August 2020 for the whole month of August 2021. And we're going to delve into a whole nother topic. And my prayer really is that thank you so much, Superwoman. My prayer is that you all have really gotten something great out of these teachings for this month. I love what I do. I am a degree counselor, and I love what I do. And I'm also a retired teacher. And so I love what I do. I love giving back. And I hope that this has helped someone or helped those that will see this in the future. I hope it's helped you all in some way. Okay, so let me move this on. Here we go. If there's a past Counsel of the Day with Shanrae series that you missed or you just want to rewatch, you can go to my YouTube channel at Shanrae Price. Please subscribe, like, hit the bell, and select any past series to watch. All right. And you can find, my voiceover just said, all of the past, anything you want to rewatch on my YouTube channel. All right. Here we go. If you are interested in professional one-on-one counseling services, feel free to contact me via Facebook Messenger or at shanrae.price@gmail.com. I am a lifestyle strategist, and my aim is to aid you in reaching your life's goals and dreams. And that is that's my aim, to help those my clients, to help you reach your life's goals and your life's dreams. All right, and this is it. I have to do this, but it's up to you all. If you feel that this teaching has helped you in a positive way or blessed your life, please feel free to donate a coffee blessing to my Cash App, $Shanrae Cherie Price. All right. Well, this has been Counsel Today with Shanrae, first quarter of May 2021. I will see you all August 2021 for the entire month of August, talking on a whole different topic, always Tuesdays and Thursdays from 9 p.m. to 9:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. We ran over a little bit tonight. Hope you've enjoyed the month, and I'll see you all later. God bless you all. Shanrae. All right.